It's time to get your limited edition Lunar Planner for 2022. This unique A5 wire-bound planner is perfect for those who love the moon and all things spiritual. This planner has over 500 pages. It's a page-per-day diary with self-care checklist, mood indicator, schedule, and to-do list. We've got crystal and aroma suggestions for each mood and intention, and guides for each new and full moon in each zodiac sign with crystal, oil, chakra, affirmation, and rituals and question suggestions. And also loads of colouring in pages. Order yours now for £30. You can get yours at weknewthemoon.co.uk. You're listening to We Knew the Moon with Dee Safier, an empath who started a podcast to explore the universe, spirituality, and all things witchy woo-woo. Don't forget to check out the website weknewthemoon.co.uk for all your I do what I want and the moon made me do it merch, whichever excuse you prefer to use for all of your life choices. Hi, this is Dee from We Knew the Moon, and I'm joined again by Tracy. Hi, Tracy.
Hello, Dee.
I love that you keep on coming back over and over again. It's like you never left.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me back. I love doing these recordings with you.
Oh, me too. And basically the plan for this season is to get you back for all of our Wheel of the Year episodes, which will be coming out on the day of each of the holidays or in the week running up to it. So today we're going to talk about Yule, aren't we?
Favourite one, Dee. Favourite time of the year. Because we mentioned in the last episode I was on Samhain, Halloween, the Wheel of the Year. And we did say, didn't we? Let's do an episode for each one.
Yeah. So that's the plan now.
Yeah. So you'll probably be hearing a lot more of me. Yeah. Said my goodbyes, but it was more of a farewell.
I know, but it's also part of my trick to sort of keep you coming back.
Ah, there's a plan. I see.
Yeah. Did you say that Yule was your favourite?
Yes, I love Yule. For me, it's the one I love how it ties in, and I see a very clear correlation with Christmas. Yeah. And it was the one where even though I wasn't fully understanding of its dates, and the word Yule isn't as strange to me as maybe some of the other words on the Wheel of the Year, it's probably the one I strongly associate with, and the one that I was already practicing without knowing. Yeah. So I'm sure as you guide us through it, a lot of other people as well might be like, oh, I already do that. I'm already celebrating Yule. I'm already understanding Yule. And I think it's something that, whether you're religious, spiritual, not quite sure, it's just a practice of celebrating that season.
Yeah. And you'll see why anyone who's grown up in Europe, UK, and the US, all of the Yule practices and rituals and so forth will feel very familiar because they've been so incorporated into sort of Christmas celebrations. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit as well. What is the difference, or what is the similarity between Yule and Christmas, basically? For me, I have to admit, when I was younger, and when I say younger, I mean like in my 20s, I didn't really care that much about Yule and Christmas, but I'm starting to love it more and more now.
Why didn't you care? You get presents day and the Christmas tree and family time.
I think because we didn't have so much of the family time because our family always lived all over the place. So it wasn't quite the way everyone else celebrated, I guess, and that's not to say I didn't have a lovely time and my parents didn't spoil me or whatever. I do love the cozy winter evenings, and I'm starting to really appreciate the Christmas time. I also wasn't always able to take Christmas off. Right. Which also just ruins it a bit, doesn't it? And being, so my family are Belgian and Palestinian, and both of those cultures celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve. And Christmas Eve is not a holiday in the UK. So I'd always have to work on what is essentially our Christmas.
We also celebrate 2 Christmases as well in Belgium.
Yes, and I'll get to that. Yes.
2 Christmases.
Because you've lived in Holland, I know you would have some experience with this.
Yeah.
Very strange custom.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd love to see how you describe this strange custom.
Oh. So Yule was originally observed by the Germanic people. So that means like Central Europe, Scandinavia, and also wherever they ended up spreading to, which is the UK and eventually the US. So Yule very much went under the thing that we always talk about when Christianity adopts a lot of pagan rituals to help people convert. It's easier for people to convert to Christianity if the holidays are the same, if they don't have to abandon their holidays or their saints or their practices. And I found the word for this. We talk about it all the time, and I never knew the term for it. It's called Christianized reformulation.
Oh, wow.
Probably the last time I ever say it.
There is rumor, and I don't want to offend Christians, but I'm pretty sure that they know this, that Jesus was not born on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Is that right, Dee?
Yeah,
is it part of the Christian reformalization?
Yes, reformulation. Exactly. So yeah, there is rumor and some proof apparently that he was actually born in March, but they tied it in with Yule.
It would make more sense that Jesus is a Pisces than a Capricorn.
I feel like that too. Pisces or Aquarius.
Yeah, definitely not Capricorn.
No.
Definitely not Sagittarius. What is the sign for 25th? I think it's Capricorn. Yeah.
Maybe Capricorn, in that he was like a leadership role.
In a more Aquarius, humanitarian way. Has anyone done Jesus's birth chart? We should figure it out when he was born.
We should do. I mean, I'm sure they talk about like the North Star and all sorts of things. I'm sure we'd be able to work out what time of day he was born, and we know where he was born. So yeah, Christianized reformulation is what they do when they incorporate these pagan or indigenous traditions, cultures, holidays, deities, and even buildings like temples. They're incorporated into Christianity in some form, normally tweaked a bit, so that it's easier to convince people to convert. So we covered this when I did an episode on voodooism. On voodoo, where Christianity there takes on a very different form to Christianity in Europe, because they incorporated all of the indigenous beliefs of Latin America and also all the beliefs of the people that originally were slaves that came over from Africa to Latin America. So Christianity there is very different to Christianity in Europe because they incorporated different beliefs. So this is why so much of what I'm going to talk about Yule is going to feel very familiar if you've grown up celebrating Christmas in the kind of European way. And we even use the word Yule. Christians use the word Yule, right? You buy Christmas cards that say Yule greetings and whatever, right? Happy Yule.
And the Yule log, the nice chocolate cake Yule log. It's not a strange word to us at all.
Exactly.
But it's very strange to think that maybe our diaries or our calendar has been reformed for convenience or simplicity or understanding.
Yes, so loads of the traditions that we associate with Christmas actually stem from Yule traditions. And although this is certainly very true of Central European, German, Scandinavian traditions, such as the Yule goat, I'm going to focus on the ones that we are more familiar with in the UK, like present giving, the Yule log, carol singing, and so forth. So we still use the word Yule to describe Christmas, and the traditions are still very much alive and well. But there are some groups of people that still celebrate Yule independently to or instead of Christmas.
It's on a slightly different day, isn't it?
Exactly.
On the 21st or 22nd, I think.
Exactly.
In our calendar. In our Lunar Planner, check it out. It tells you.
Exactly. So there's some people that only celebrate Yule, or they celebrate Yule and Christmas. So you've got the neo-pagans, so people that identify as pagans today, Wiccans, Levian Satanists, and anyone that celebrates the Wheel of the Year or elements of the Wheel of the Year. So Yule is based around the winter solstice, as you said. So that's like the 21st-ish of December. It can change, but it's around about that day. And it's when we have the shortest day and the longest night. And after this, the nights start getting shorter, which is exciting. And this is obviously these celebrations, these Yule traditions, they came from a time where winter was really tough, right? And you might not make it. And you would be worrying, as we talked about in the Halloween episode, with Halloween being the final harvest, big concerns about whether you harvested enough food, whether you're going to make it, whether your elderly people are going to survive. And so it was a big celebration that you're like halfway through winter. And from this point onwards, it's going to get a bit easier. We're going to have shorter nights, meaning shorter cold periods. And also, at a time where there wasn't much electricity and you're using candlelight, your day stops when the sun goes down.
Can't go out farming in the dark day. You can't.
Exactly. So it just put a lot of pressure on people in the winter. And so this celebration, which marks when we're coming out of winter and we're going to head slowly towards spring, was a big deal. And this is why it was celebrated very, very commonly, very extravagantly. I found something that's super cute. And that's that the word jolly might have its origins in the word Yule.
Oh, so when we describe Santa as jolly,
He's Yule.
Yule.
Isn't that cute? So the first records of the word Yule and the celebration Yule were actually in the 4th century. And in the 1900s, Scandinavia was being Christianized. So that at that point, they started linking Yule with Christmas time. So Yule was celebrated for 3 nights around the winter solstice, but they started extending it so it covered Christmas, which is why we think of it as this whole Yule season.
Yeah.
Why you've got basically the whole month of December to celebrate Christmas, right?
I think it's one of those seasons that you do have strong associations with. Think of Christmas. What do you think of, Dee? I think of like the Christmas tree and Santa and pine cones. And I put like a bowl of nuts, and we have the nuts and nibbles bowl, the special Christmas bowl. Do you do this? And put the Quality Street in there. You're looking at me like you don't. But
no,
you know,
I was wondering what nibbles you were going to have, but yeah, we definitely have the chocolate.
Yeah, the food offerings on the table, which I don't even know why we do that, but I'm sure you're going to tell me it's something to do with old traditions. And
yeah, it's just, again, it goes back to it being a celebration and being able to untighten the belt a little bit because you're coming out of the really hard times. So what I wanted to do was start talking about some of the winter solstice celebrations, so the traditional Yule celebrations.
Ooh.
And then how that kind of morphs into Christmas and Santa.
Nice. Love to know
where the hell does Santa come from, right?
Right.
In Wicca and in pagan beliefs in the UK, the seasonal cycle, i.e. the wheel of the year, is imagined to follow the relationship between the horned god and the goddess. So the horned god is born in the winter, like someone else we know, supposedly born in the winter. Then this is where the similarities to Jesus ends, because then the horned god impregnates the goddess and then dies during the autumn and winter months, and then is reborn again. So there's different interpretations of this, but basically it's a cycle of life represented through the year. But one story that keeps on coming up in a bunch of different cultures and religions to do with the solstice and with Yule is the wild hunt. Have you ever heard of the wild hunt?
No, I mean, when you said that, what came to mind straight away, and I don't like to go on this topic because it makes me so sad, is like the Boxing Day hunting that used to happen.
Oh, well, I'm pleased to say it's got nothing to do with that. And you will have heard of some form of the wild hunt before, but maybe it hasn't clicked yet. It normally involves a chase led by a mythical figure or a deity, escorted by ghosts or helpers, and they're all hunting someone or something. So in Norse culture, you have Odin, who's leading this mythical wild hunt through the night sky. In Wicca, you have the horned god, and also in some neo-paganist belief. In Denmark, they believe it's the Danish king Valdemar Atterdag who leads this wild hunt through the night sky.
Him. Sounds fancy.
In Welsh, they believe that this wild hunt is led by Gwyn ap Nudd. I hope I'm saying it right, but that is basically the leader of the underworld. He was thought to be the king of the fairies in King Arthur's time. Some people believe that the hunt is led by a female. Some people believe it's Hecate, who is the goddess of the crossroads and witchcraft. Some people believe it is Artemis or Diana, in the Roman goddess, who is again the goddess of the hunt. You name the deity and there's probably some story of them leading the wild hunt. I also learned an amazing new word when I was researching this. Okay, I'm going to say the word and you guess what you think it might mean.
Oh my goodness.
Psychopomp.
Psychopomp.
Isn't that a good word?
Oh my, I honestly wouldn't even want to guess, Dee. What is this related to the hunt?
Yeah.
Is this the thing they're hunting?
No, not quite, but great guess. A psychopomp is a spirit or a deity whose job it is to bring newly deceased spirits to the underworld.
Oh, I don't know if I like the idea of a psychopomp doing that, though.
Isn't that cool? I didn't know.
Oh, weird, but it's got psycho in it. Nothing with psycho in it can end well, Dee.
It sounds like a Pokemon or something.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a very old traditional Celtic word.
There's also biblical figures that have supposedly led this wild hunt, like Herod, Cain, the angel Gabriel, even the devil. The hunters are usually thought to be the souls of the dead, ghostly dogs, and sometimes fairies, depending on what. But you see, it's another sort of story or archetype that keeps on popping up in all of these different countries, religions, and so forth. And it was thought that if you saw the wild hunt, some catastrophe would occur, like war or plague or your death or the death of a loved one. Jacob Grimm, who's one of the brothers Grimm, was a folklorist, and in his book from 1835, he studied comparative mythology, so things like this, where a story comes up in all the different cultures, and found that loads of cultures had this idea of a wild hunt through North, West, and Central Europe. And he's the one that popularized this term, the wild hunt, for this kind of myth. Now, can you think how this might tie in with Christmas?
I'm still thinking of Santa being part of it, because all of these things flying through the sky, hunting.
Exactly. You're so right. So the wild hunt is thought to be the early influence of Dutch Christmas figure Sinterklaas.
Right.
And, you know, this idea of the sleigh going through the sky and so forth. Slightly less morbid than a wild hunt, but you can see how this is starting to look a little bit like Santa, right? So we're going to move on to Sinterklaas here, Saint Nicholas. Specifically in Belgium and Holland, and I think Luxembourg, we celebrate Sinterklaas. And as you mentioned, it's basically another Christmas for us. Saint Nicholas is the patron saint of children, who wears like a long red cape and normally has like a big white beard and looks very much like a kind of old-fashioned Santa, right? Because he is basically the old-fashioned Santa.
If you think of when you go to the garden centre and you get the old traditional Christmas card or the old Santa figurine, not the round one with the big belly and the bright white beard. He's a bit more of a traditional, older looking man, your old looking Santa, isn't he?
Exactly. So on the 5th of December, we put our carrots out for his horse and sugar and so forth. And on the 6th, we wake up to presents. And Sinterklaas predates the sort of Americanized Santa Claus, but Sinterklaas was not chill like the Santa that we know. The Santa that we're used to is very, he's jolly, isn't he? He's Yule-y. He's been sort of
Disneyed.
Yeah, Disney-fied, Coca-Cola-fied. St. Nicholas had a helper called Zwarte Piet, which in English means Black Pete. So you know that's fucking problematic, right? So there's a whole bunch of debate over Zwarte Piet. I remember at one point he became just Pete and we didn't call him Black Pete anymore. And then I think that came back. Now there's arguments of people claiming that he wasn't a slave, but he's actually called Black Pete because he goes up and down the chimneys delivering the presents. So he's got soot on his face. I want to share some pictures with you.
See, I heard the Dutch reasoning was that he was from Spain and he used to come from Spain, and the reason that he had dark skin was because he was Spanish and he used to be tanned. Translation through time has led to, he's showing me photos now. For anyone that's not seen it, Google it. It's shocking.
It's basically like minstrels with blackface. Do you know what it looks a lot like? The gollywog, right?
Yes, exactly.
Totally unacceptable. They're trying to modernize a little bit and make it a bit more PC by saying that he's not a black slave, he's Spanish. Or what I'm going to show you now is the more acceptable makeup.
Okay, yes.
So they've amended it to say that he's got like soot on his face from going up and down the chimneys. And I don't know whether he's still officially called Zwarte Piet or just Pete, but they're trying to work their way through making it a bit more PC, I think.
A debate that goes on, isn't it?
Originally, he was 100%, he was the slave of St. Nicholas because these people would have all had slaves. It's just they're trying to change the narrative so that we can continue celebrating it today and it not be so horribly wrong. And apparently, I mean, I haven't been back to Belgium since this, and I don't think you've been back to the Netherlands since this, but since George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd, apparently that's re-sparked a lot of debate on this. Yeah, which is really interesting. So I wonder where they're going to land. It's not everyone in the country that finds it acceptable. It doesn't matter that it's your tradition or whatever, that if your tradition is bad, you could change your tradition, right? So it'll be interesting to see where it lands. Yeah, but Saint Nicholas, so apart from having slaves, he was also like basically around Christmas time with Santa Claus. If you're bad, you basically just don't get your presents, right? But we grew up thinking that if you were bad, that you would get beaten by Saint Nicholas or by Zwarte Piet, because he had a birch rod and he would spank you. And we even sang songs about Zwarte Piet putting you in his sack and taking you away.
Wow.
I mean, that's
so
horrifying.
glad we didn't celebrate any of that over here. It's
right?
awful.
So that's what I mean. He was not chill. So apparently they don't sing those songs anymore, but they did when I was a kid, and it freaked me out.
Really?
So
Well, I can see why now. Yule is probably, and winter and Christmas is not your fave spot on the wheel of the year.
might have scarred me more than I thought. So
Aw.
basically, you remember in when you lived in Holland, there were big, massive parades and everything, because Saint Nicholas or Sinterklaas, he would arrive in Holland and in Belgium from Spain round about mid-November, and it would be a huge event, a huge televised
Wow.
event. I remember we used to either have the day off school or watch it from school. You would then, between mid-November and the 5th of December, he would go around visiting schools and hospitals. So you'd get St. Nicholas coming and visiting your school, which was obviously, like, I remember I cried when that happened.
Through fear of
Yeah.
being taken away in his Santa sack.
Yeah, because when I actually, it was when I lived in Holland and I went to an American school. So there weren't that many Dutch and Belgian kids. So they just thought it was kind of like European Santa, whereas I knew it was St. Nicholas who could beat the fuck out of you if you were bad. So everyone else was like, Santa! And I was there crying because I was petrified. So, yeah.
This is a tradition they're really proud of, though. They're very excited to say that they celebrate 2 Christmases. I'll be honest, I never went to any of those parades or celebrated that first Christmas over there. It's not a tradition I understood, and I didn't like Black Pete.
Yeah.
I celebrated Yule and Christmas instead, but
Yeah.
I don't like that dark side to it, and I hope they're not doing that now to the point.
Well, from what I read, they're kind of sanitizing Sinterklaas a lot. So you're like, I read that you don't have the same songs anymore that we used to sing about, Zwarte Piet taking you away. They're obviously trying to make Zwarte Piet a little bit more PC. So who knows? It's probably unrecognizable from the celebrations that I remember as a kid. So Saint Nicholas, Sinterklaas, was a precursor to Santa Claus. It sounds familiar. It's basically a bastardization of Saint Nicholas, Santa Claus. So the Dutch immigrants to New York City originally were the ones that brought this tradition with them, and then it spread throughout the States, and then it was popularized by Coca-Cola, who basically designed and invented the Santa Claus that we know now.
The lovely, clean-looking, happy Santa.
Happy Santa, who has his nice list and his naughty list, but the worst that happens to you, supposedly, is that you don't get presents, right? So it's crazy how it all ties in together, isn't it? Like,
it's
from the wild hunt
time of how things transition.
And then I forgot to mention another one of St. Nicholas's helpers, Krampus.
Krampus? He doesn't sound very nice.
No, I've got to share my screen again with you. Some of you will have seen the horror film.
Oh my goodness. That is half goat, half human, and a little bit of vampire mixed in, Dee.
Yep. So again, you can see how that pulls very much from the horned god that we discussed before.
Yes.
The horned god, pagan beliefs, and Pan, and a whole bunch of other.
There of him grabbing 2 little children. Krampus has come in, and he's got horns, and he's like the devil, but 10 times worse, Dee.
Yep. So that was another one of the helpers, and yeah. So now I think you're starting to, and I am starting.
Why Dutch children were so well behaved, though.
Right, especially around December.
Yeah.
So these nightly rides of Santa Claus, the nighttime rides of Santa Claus were tied to these wild hunts. And, then that was tied to St. Nicholas. It's all coming together, isn't it?
But even like our tradition of me growing up, I remember putting my little Santa stocking out in England and Mum saying Santa was going to come and put presents in it. And as a child, I was like, a strange man coming into my bedroom when I'm asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Not having any of that. Terrified today. The Santa stocking had to go outside the house because in my little head, no, a strange man
funny.
coming in the house. It's not right. It's
Can
not
you imagine if
normal.
that strange man was Krampus?
Oh my goodness, it just
You would do a shit, wouldn't you?
I was terrified. I was terrified of the thought of Santa coming in the house, and this is the lovely picture of Santa. You see the jolly, happy, clean, nice Santa that's going to bring me presents. But in my little head, no. I don't want his presents. Like, he can leave them outside the door like any normal adult would do. He's not coming
like the
in.
postman, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't
yeah, whereas the rest of the year, totally unacceptable for a strange man to come into your children's bedrooms, right?
Yeah, totally. But
yeah.
hey,
you can't
maybe
think about these things too much because they are just so wrong when you look into them.
when you break it down.
So I wanted to talk about some of the Yule traditions that we have incorporated into Christmas and that we're just so familiar with in the Western world because of that. So first of all, Christmas tree. I mean, this is just standard Christmas fare, isn't it? Like you just have Christmas trees everywhere around Christmas time.
Totally.
There's evidence of the Yule tree being used thousands of years before the Christmas tree tradition started. Christmas trees became a tradition in 1840. So long before that, we were using Yule trees to celebrate this Yule time, winter solstice time. So evergreen trees, such as the pine trees that we use for Christmas trees, are a sign of continual life.
Oh, even though we chop them down and kill them to make them our Christmas tree.
Exactly. So they're decorated with wishes for the new year. So Yule trees would be decorated with coins and dried fruit and so forth. This tradition was condemned in the UK.
Condemned?
Because it was a pagan tradition.
Yeah.
Until Queen Victoria decided that she wanted one after coming back from Germany.
I heard it was the Victorians. They say the Victorians invented the Christmas tree, which I think is a little bit unfair on the pagans because
it's bullshit.
They invented it and then it got banned. That's awful. And then Queen Victoria brings it back and says, ta-da, look at this beautiful tree. I love the idea that Christmas trees are bringing the outside in. That's one of the one things I read, and that's what I love to think of it as, like you're bringing a little bit of winter inside your house now.
And how pagan is that, isn't it? With your altars and so forth, bringing the nature from outside in. We talked about in the Halloween episode. If you have an altar or if you want to decorate your house in a seasonal way, the easiest and best way is to bring things from nature outside, inside, right?
Yeah.
So whatever flowers are growing at that time, whatever plants, what you find in your local park and so forth, or in this case, a tree. So holly and mistletoe, they are two plants that we very strongly associate with this time of the year, right? And that is because they're both symbols of rebirth in pagan times. So they are plants that thrive in the winter, which is also a key reason why you find them abundantly at this time, and they look gorgeous at this time because they're thriving. So again, it's this idea that pagans used to bring outside in and decorated their homes and their altars in the winter months, Yule time, with the things that were thriving, had berries at the time and so forth. Kissing under mistletoe originates in Scandinavia. And here's the story that I found to explain it. Baldur, the son of Odin and Frigg, was so beloved that his mother made everything, including trees, stones, elements, and sickness, promise that it would not harm him. However, Loki, the god of fire, found that she'd...
Loki. Sorry, I just have to say how much I love Loki.
I know, he's a cheeky little chappy, huh? So he found out that she had forgotten to ask mistletoe not to harm him and killed Baldur with a dart fashioned from this poisonous plant. Afterwards, Frigg vowed that the plant should never again be used as a weapon and that she would kiss anyone who passed under it. So slightly morbid tale about why we kiss under the mistletoe.
But what a nice sort of way of making it a positive. She sounds like my kind of friendy.
Yeah. Then we also have, as we mentioned a few times, the Yule log, which is a cake. that is delicious. If you have never had a Yule log, then go and treat yourself to one this year. They're available in all the bakeries around that time. They're just such a delicious, like, chocolate roll cake, huh? So that originates from the burning of the Yule tree logs to bring in the light. We talked about the food and why we have the nibbles out, why we overeat every Christmas. And again, it's a pagan tradition of feasting at a time when food was actually scarce, to show that they hope for abundance in the harvest in the following year. So they're almost like manifesting a good upcoming year in terms of harvest.
Plus, I imagine at that point you're absolutely starving, having rationed food to get through the first part of winter. First celebration on the map since Halloween, and you're told you're allowed a festival, like, you're gonna feed your face, aren't you? Like, you're gonna store it up, which we still do today, even though we've got Tesco's down the road. Do we know why turkey is the traditional meat in the UK? Because it's not in Holland or any of the other countries. Is it like the pumpkin root vegetable thing where it's just what was available?
I actually don't know. And you're right, because like we never grew up having turkey. Hey Google, why do we eat turkey at Christmas time?
On the website huoniqua.com.au, they say, the Christmas turkey tradition can be traced back to Henry VIII, who decided to make the bird a staple for the festive day. After the British Empire discovered the New World, an influx of gobble gobbles hit Britain.
So, Henry VIII, didn't he make the meat inside the meat inside the meat, like...
Oh, the three bird thing.
Yeah.
Imagine if a king was going to do that. Sorry, Henry VIII, but it would...
I don't think we need to apologize to him. He might have had some positives, but he was overall quite a horrendous person, wasn't he?
I'd love to do an episode with you on the kings and queens, because there was a witch queen, wasn't there? The White Queen, you know, the TV series. I'd love to look into with you if how much is that is true.
Right.
She put a curse on the monarchy and said that you will not have a son in your line, which is why we had Mary and Elizabeth. And I think something to do with Henry VIII was the first one, and then he did all the stuff to do with getting rid of the Catholic, and I think it all goes down. Obviously it's transitioning through time of this White Queen who was a witch. Have you seen the series?
Was it Jane Earl?
Yes, it was the War of the Roses, time, the War of the Roses. And
all right, you're gonna have to come back and do this episode.
I love it. I don't know how much of it's true because I read Philippa Gregory's books, but she's a historian. She's created this lovely fiction around it, but essentially there's this really lovely history in the monarchy of perhaps there was a witch there that did something that caused it to exist.
There's rumors as well that Anne Boleyn was a witch. I mean, there's lots of people who accused her of it and in order to behead her, but there's rumors that she wasn't a witch in the way that we use the word, I should say. So, yeah. All right, let's do some an episode on that. The next tradition that I looked into was the gift giving, because that is a big part of Christmas, isn't it? It started off as giving gifts to symbolize the love of nature. So you would get gifts like the clove spiked apples and oranges.
My mum used to always put an orange in my stocking.
Oh, it's cute, isn't it?
It is. Can you imagine doing that now, though, to a child? Fair play, mums, if you do that, because I think it's a lovely tradition, but I'm not quite sure it'd go down as well.
No, they just be like, oh, I'll just put it with all the other oranges that we've got over there.
Well, it was because in my mum's time, oranges were really rare.
Exactly. No, my mum used to do it as well, because exactly for that, it used to be the gift. So, and that used to be the idea of Christmas presents. Used to get these like luxurious foods, like I think pineapples were one of the things that, you know, if you were lucky, you got a pineapple for Christmas. And
this is where Terry's chocolate orange has cottoned on to something of like modernizing the gift of the orange to making it a chocolate orange.
Yeah, so that kids don't throw it back at their parents. And then finally, I looked at the wreath, because, you know, we love a good wreath, don't we? Either on the table, you know, or on your door. And basically, it was like having a mini Christmas tree in your house. So more of the same, of bringing your nature
decorating
inside
your table, your house, your door.
Mm-hmm.
And we still do it, which is
I
lovely.
know, just so cute. And obviously everything's been changed a bit. Like instead of hanging dried fruit from your Christmas tree, you've got your ornaments and so forth. But you can see where they've all come from, huh?
It's nice.
All the way from this winter solstice, which was celebrated since the dawn of time, to this idea of Yule and this wild hunt theme, which becomes Sinterklaas, which becomes Santa Claus, and then all of the traditions that come along with Christmas. They're all tied into each other.
That's it. And I think that's why it's my favorite.
You know what I love about Christmas? Like in Palestine, my family are Christian Arabs. And in Palestine, it's a largely Muslim country. There's only about 3% of Palestinians in Palestine that are Christian. The rest are Muslim. But because the Muslims think of Jesus as a prophet and Mary as well is a significant figure in Islam, everyone celebrates Christmas. And you get that over here as well in the UK, where you have people of all religions, backgrounds, and like us, we're not Christian, but we celebrate Christmas, Unless you're Christmas shopping, people tend to be a little bit kinder, a little bit nicer to each other. Right?
Yeah, it's a lovely celebration.
Yeah.
It is. Christmas can be shadowed with the commercial thing of, says she who owns a gift shop and finds it the most stressful time of year. It makes me sad that it gets hazed and crowded in this sort of stressy fog of shopping busyness, greediness, presents, and just strip it back to what it actually means.
Yeah. And even if you're not religious, even if you're not a Christian, then take it back to its roots of celebrating coming out of the worst of winter and being with your loved ones and just appreciating life and nature and so forth, and then you'll have a good time. And yes, don't get sucked into the commercialization of it. Your loved ones will appreciate a thoughtful gift much more than an expensive gift.
Have a lovely Christmas day.
You too. Merry Christmas. Happy Yule.
Happy Yule, your blessings. I look forward to sitting in my chair, feeding my face and watching lots of Christmas movies with the TV time circled of everything I want to watch. I
think I'm going to bake you a Yule log.
Oh, that'd be lovely. Thank you, dear. I might make you a little bouquet of plant stuff. I won't bake for you. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, but I might try and make something. I'll make you something twiggy, Yeah,
okay. You make me a decoration, I'll bake it. We'll stick to our strengths.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Our comparative advantage. All right, well, I will see you back here then for Imbolc. Yes, in February. Imbolc, also known as Candlemas.
Lots to tell you, Dee.
All right,
can't wait.
Yeah, that's you.
Lots to tell you. I'm already researching it now.
Oh, can't wait. All right. Lots of love, everyone. Thanks for listening. Bye. Merry Christmas. Happy Yule. Bye. If you want lots more fun, moon info, and all things spiritual, plus our merch shop, please visit our website, weknewthemoon.co.uk. And if you want even more, head over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/weknewthemoon, and check out some of our bonus content. We're also on Facebook and Instagram at we.new.the.moon. And we're also on Twitter at WeKnewTheMoon1. See you next time!